Hey, I'm Dr. Jordan Wagner. I'm a board-certified emergency medicine physician. Pretty bad shot right to the chest. It's just a shootout.
Damn it.
Bandaging up the arm and saying, okay. If you take a gunshot wound to the arm, one, depending on the caliber of the bullet, always depends on how much damage that you're gonna have. It can hit the tissue and bounce off and go up the arm. It can be embedded, it can go through and through. Most of the time, it's tissue injury. Sometimes it hits the blood vessels, and then sometimes it just destroys the bone. So wrapping it up could help the bleeding, but if you destroy the bone, it's gonna be weak, obviously. You can last 3 hours in harsh environment exposed before it potentially can kill you if you don't get shelter or a fire, all these other attributes. Hypothermia injuries are extremely complicated, right? So our bodies are 37 degrees Celsius. You can drop all the way down to where you start shivering, around 34 to 32, but then you start getting confused. Everything below that, you're not gonna be able to walk, you're gonna be confused. You will not be able to open up a box to be able to heal yourself. And then once you become altered, you're just gonna be a sitting vegetable, basically, out in that environment, and you'll die pretty quick. Typically, you'll die of cardiac arrest. On the opposite spectrum of things, for hyperthermia, basically your temperatures that you can get up to, depending on dry versus humid heat, our bodies can tolerate up to 140s, 50s, 60s, depending on how long you're being exposed to. So once you get into fires, which burns at X number of degrees Fahrenheit, you're gonna start burning your skin, obviously. You got a droid, basically AI or any type of machine trying to be a doctor, healthcare provider. We're kind of moving in that direction, right? We have these different surgical machines, basically robots, where it is still operated by a human using micro movements of their own hands, and then the machine can actually go even smaller, and it's all video cameraed, and basically we kind of move in that direction. Now, is it totally going to replace a human? Not for a very, very long time, because there's critical thinking that needs to occur using the humanistic component versus fix the problem machine kind of thinking. We got injectables that are used in the field all the time. You got morphine or adrenaline, basically to treat your pain and get you moving. That could be antibiotics as well. There's intramuscular injections, or IM injections of antibiotics that you can take. But typically in the battlefield, it's going to be either pain medications or it's going to be antibiotics. Nice. This guy injected something, probably pain medication or adrenaline. So you have morphine, but then you also have epinephrine, right? Adrenaline. Adrenaline we use mostly for allergic reactions or when somebody has cardiac arrest. In this situation, it was either pain medication or adrenaline. If he's using adrenaline in this situation, basically he's just trying to give himself more energy. All right, so another game where there's eating and healing or trading. So a lot of video games I see, there's always a component of food as healing. In real life, that is the case. It just happens a lot faster in a video game. So it's not totally wrong or obscure. It just, in the time frame that you're playing a video game, you need to heal quickly. So food is what we use to heal ourselves for thousands and thousands of years. We even have medications out there that are plant-derived. Your anesthesia medications, the lidocaine that you get injected with, right? That medication is actually derived from the cocaine plant, the coca plant. And there's even a cardiac medication called digitalis, or digoxin, which is made from the foxglove flower. There's a lot of medications and treatments that we have from foods and plants in society that we use. So from a video game standpoint, it just happens on a lot faster level, but it's pretty real. Wolverine's a cool character. He can heal himself. That's how actually ended up how he got his metal in his body, right? He went through some sort of surgical procedure and they were able to give him rare metals. When it comes to Wolverine's ability to heal, he heals so fast that he doesn't even get infections. One day, maybe we'll be able to develop and have a genetic code that changes, that allows that to do that. But I think that's many, many, many years away. Oh, crocodiles. Nice. Oh, where's Steve Irwin when you need him? I don't see many crocodile injuries, or be it alligator injuries where I'm at. Maybe if I was in different parts of the world, different states. But you just have to think about it from the perspective of a crush injury with puncture. Oh! Forearm, done, shattered. What do you do? What do you do to get the darn thing off? You gotta kill it, So these injuries, especially this crush injury, you're probably going to break both bones. It's not just a clean injury, right? It's going to be broken in multiple areas because of the mouth itself. We call that a comminuted fracture, not a compound fracture. We don't use that word. Comminuted meaning multiple pieces. That needs to be taken to the operating room, but you also have to be given antibiotics. I want to know if you get bitten, right? In this game, do you just get bitten in the forearm and then you die? Like, it wouldn't happen in real life, right? You'd have to bandage that up, take care of the wounds. You wouldn't actually clean it out very well. But actually, something to know, you can clean it out with just like tap water. Let's run it under tap water for a couple minutes, and that'll help even disinfect it. And don't crocodiles also like kill by drowning their prey as well, right? They grip onto it and then put it in the water and like roll it around, right? That's how they also kill it, by drowning, not just by tearing and ripping. Oh, sharks. Sharks have multiple like layers of teeth. Aren't we supposed to be told to punch the shark in the nose and it's supposed to go away? But those things are like razor sharp. You've seen people get dismembered with these like missing limbs. They chomp, they chew, they pull their prey underneath as well. And they cause different types of bacterial injuries as well, because now you're in the ocean, different bacteria thrive in the ocean as well. There's like a theme, right? You're always putting out your arms and sacrificing your hands and your forearms, and basically be careful out there.
Yes, boy!
Oh! Okay, you're breaking through that right leg. That's pretty grotesque. And you're squirting out blood, arterial bleeding, right? Venous blood doesn't do that. Yeah, it's pretty intense and grotesque, and now the guy's actually watching. Big amputations like that are super clean, can potentially be put back together, but when they're gnarly, destroyed tissue, unfortunately, most of the time you can't put that back together. You have to be able to put back blood vessels attaching, bone attaching, nerves attaching. We see it in TV all the time, where people reattach different limbs, fingers, all this stuff. It occurs, but not as frequent as we see it on TV. Fingers is the most common thing that are amputated, so you basically want to put it on ice, but not directly on ice. You want to wrap anything in like a wet gauze and then like a water bath. You don't want anything directly, because then you're going to cause freezing of the tissue, and then you're going to kill the tissue. So timing is typically about an hour. Those sorts of things, faster the better, obviously. And then the surgeon will be able to tell you, is it viable or not to be able to put it back together. Oh, what? I was not expecting that. Wow. Whoever's playing this game knows where to do the kills. Straight under the jaw, straight up into the brain. Wow. Boom. That's a different blade than the first one, but same mechanism. Awesome. Able to hit straight through the sternum, probably gonna hit some heart structures, and then slice right into the lungs. Oh, straight through the chest, hemopneumothorax, and then jugular, carotid, lacerations going deep into the chest cavity. So you're going into the lung on that side as well. Oh man, slice through the scalp, into the skull, through into the brain, and then having to pull it out. Could you actually do that? I mean, if it's sharp enough and you have enough momentum to be able to do it, yeah, potentially. Wow. You gotta be careful not to hit your own hand. If you're in front of the spinal column, you can actually probably get through most of that, because this is cartilage here in the front, and there's spaces to get through pretty easily. Nice. Anterior axillary line. That's actually where that same line is where we put chest tubes in. On that side, a little obviously lower, but you're actually missing major structures there. Oh. Back injuries, you have your skin's super thick, you got a lot of muscles in the back. That's gonna hurt like hell unless you go deep enough to the structures that are more in the mid-chest. That's gonna just be more of a nuisance, and it's gonna take a long time to pass away and die from. Okay, I love the graphic. I mean, it's really good, but could you actually take a machete to somebody's skull like that, and then you have to just like pull it off? I don't know. I mean, I've never seen it. Thank gosh, I'm not seeing too many machete injuries. More realistic of like stab wounds than related to using the blade to cut through the skull, basically. Yeah, these moves, you're using gravity, that force, and then you're using your own body weight. So it's a lot more realistic than if you're just standing, swinging, and then getting it in. But major structures of the chest, you're obviously not going to die you're not going to die as fast as the game is showing, but those injuries are gnarly, man. Basically, put in, ripped, turned, and it's deep. Oh, nice. Look at that thing. Rusty, nasty, needle impaled, or some sort of like sharp object into the hand itself. Nice. Everybody loves a good roll of duct tape. It's good for everything. Oh, jacked up hand. Nice. I love that this game that you can actually put bones back together. We do the same thing in the emergency department. We'll be nice and we do digital nerve blocks where you inject numbing medicine so it doesn't hurt. But a lot of times people dislocate their fingers at the joints. And basically to be able to fix it, you actually make the dislocation worse. So you can disarticulate it from where it's stuck, pop it over, and you're good. And you put it right back in. Oh, nice. What is that? That is kind of badass. Be able to pull some bullets out with pliers. Now, you may have heard me or maybe not have heard me. We don't pull bullets out of people. Most of the time we see bullets, they just fragment everywhere. There's like pieces of them. Very rarely is it just nice one nugget of a bullet. There you go. All that reminds me of is freaking Rambo, right? Rambo just taking care of his wounds by burning it. If you're bleeding out, you want to cauterize something, sure, it's going to hurt like heck. It's going to be a dirty wound at that point, right? Because you're using tobacco leaves and burnt. I would not advise doing that in the normal, everyday situation. Is there just drinking alcohol in this situation? Oh my gosh. What kind of mercenary is that? Alcohol obviously causes impairment, slows your reaction time. Not good to be in this type of situations. Oh yeah, check out this medical kit. Took out some sort of clips and popped something out of his body. Putting some medicine or bandages on it. Oh, we got a survival kit, okay. We got trauma shears. Use that for anything, cutting off clothes. You got Kelly clamps there for needles, and then you have a stapler to close down any kind of wound or laceration. Okay, we got a splint. Definitely use any different types of splints to be able to protect any limbs. Oh, he just injected himself with a needle. Through clothing, not as sterile as you would want to be with your alcohol swabs, but in the field, you got to do what you got to do. And then you have a car first aid kit, wrapping in some bandages around him to heal up whatever wound he has. Looks like another ready pack of some sort of medical equipment. Oh, we got lots of med options, different labels, and you typically wouldn't throw a used needle out in the middle of nowhere, but every needle has its cap on it, which is good. Depending on what he needs, you're injecting it right into the soft tissue. Basically, injecting into muscle versus intravenously. You see this gentleman has got IV or needle forms of medications. You can inject it intramuscular or IM versus IV into a vein. In his situation, getting into a vein is pretty difficult. So some medications can be given IM, but the absorption and the variability of absorption can vary depending on how you inject it, how deep, and the tissue you're injecting it in. So sometimes the medications work really well and sometimes they don't work as well. Anybody who gets shot, we give a lot of painkillers, morphine, fentanyl. Basically, we want them to be comfortable while we're trying to figure out everybody's injuries. You give them IV fluids, and you also get tons of blood that you would give somebody if they're bleeding out. There's something called even a rapid infuser to get it in super fast. Even if you have to give a ton of other blood, you got to give blood products. If you're giving packed red blood cells, you need to give plasma and platelets and all the other components of the blood. Otherwise, it'll be too thin and you don't have any clotting factors. And depending on the weapon that they're choosing, the caliber of the bullet changes, so injuries are based on the bullet and the caliber and what's actually firing it. If it's something that's a lower velocity, so it doesn't have as much power, it could hit and tumble inside the body and not go very far but cause a lot of damage just from going in different directions, versus high velocity, very strong, fast bullet. Basically, you can just pop right through front and back and cause all the damage. And then there's all different physics with it, having to do with the force and the pressure wave. A lot of times we'll see an entrance wound but won't see an exit wound, so you know that the bullet tumbled and went somewhere else in the body. You can get shot in the arm and end up in the chest or the abdomen, vice versa. A lot of times we leave the bullet inside the body because we'll cause more damage trying to take it out. Oh, looks like he just relocated his thumb. Man, that hurts, but you can do it. You got to pull really hard to be able to do that. If it's a fracture, again, you're trying to realign this if it's displaced, but most likely dislocation. Ooh, tree branch to the leg. My best advice, most emergency doctors will tell you shouldn't be pulling anything out. Trauma surgeons will say the same thing. Once you have an object that's impaled you, you're concerned about what's injured on the inside, and if you rip it out, you might be doing more damage on the way out, as well as if there's an object there, it's basically blocking vessel from bleeding, so the minute you take it out, it's gonna start bleeding all over again. Oh, a nail to the finger. I've seen this many times in the emergency department. It hurts a lot. You could potentially pull it out. In that area, you really need to be able to be worried about the blood vessels. It doesn't look like you probably got the bone because it's in between. But again, if you shattered the bone with it, you need to splint it. A lot of these are dirty, rusty things. You need a tetanus shot if it's not up to date, and you potentially need antibiotics if it's a dirty wound. Oh man, impaled into the abdomen with some rebar, definitely do not rip that out of your abdomen. Extremities, hands, if you're in the middle of nowhere, potentially can pull it out. But in the abdomen or torso area, don't be ripping these things out. It's blocking anything from pouring out of whatever was injured. He's got it on the left side. Left side has your spleen, has your large intestines, your small intestines, and then again, ribs, your kidney on the back. There are so many things that could be injured, and then you just aimlessly ripping this out can cause so much more damage, and you can die pretty quick if certain things were injured on the way in. Oh, looks like he just ripped out his own tooth. People do this often. I've actually witnessed with my own 2 eyes, somebody ripping out their front 2 teeth. It wouldn't cause splattering blood like that, but it's painful. It looked like it was already broken, and I've actually seen people rip out their teeth on their own with their own 2 fingers. So you can do it. I do not advise it. Oh, he ripped out a bullet. Typically, we don't rip out bullets. We leave most of the bullets in. Video games, in real life, they're different. The video games and movies, we pull out bullets. In real life, typically, you leave the bullet in. You'll actually cause more damage trying to pull the bullet out. So you leave it in most of the time. Oh, he's on fire. You got to smother that out, and it's not going to cause any long-term potential issues if you get it out quick. Fires can cause 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree burn. Basically, a deep 2nd degree burn or a 3rd degree burn needs a skin graft in the future, but in the immediate injury, it's just going to cause pain on those levels.